want to do a quick video about the apparent permanence of things that we say or write online. Also, I'm using this light now, this additional light, because my friend pointed out to me that I look quite a lot like a corpse in some of the other videos where I'm not using it. I don't normally look like a corpse. It's just, as you can see, the lighting. So I'm gonna use that permanently now, and it's hard to overstate the value of people who will tell you things like that. It's very useful. It's the same with creative projects and things. If you're, well, I guess to some extent that's what this is anyway, but people who will sort of tell you, like, this is bad, I don't like this. They're so valuable. I mean, unless they're constantly fucking telling you that about everything you do, then maybe not. Maybe they're just a dick. But generally speaking, yeah, it's very, very good to have those people around. Yeah, I remember, sorry, this is a digression from what I was going to talk about, but Charlie Murphy talking about how Eddie Murphy one time had this shirt, this Jimi Hendrix shirt. It was a shirt that Jimi Hendrix had actually owned, and he put it on, and it was like way too small for him, and he looked completely ridiculous, and all these people around him were like, wow, Eddie, you look amazing, that shirt's so cool. And then like Charlie Murphy took him aside and was just like, you have to get rid of all of these people and the shirt, like, just, you look ridiculous, and these people are not your friends. Yeah, so I think it's important to be aware of arse kissers. Anyway, yeah, I don't know why I've got my fucking headphones in. I'm wondering why my voice was all muffled and shit in my head. I don't need those in for this. Yeah, anyway, so I wanted to talk about, nowadays, especially we see this obviously with like people who are in high profile people in positions of power, or just like famous people or whatever. People say things and they're kind of given a sense of permanence that is undue, I think, and it's kind of ruined the way we communicate, or at least very badly affected it. I think human beings think by speaking. Like, when you're on your own a lot of the time, you're not thinking in words, you're not having complex structured thoughts in the way that you would in a conversation. It's much easier a lot of the time to think out loud, to think in a conversation with somebody else. And that's one of the good things about the internet. It's like easier than ever to do that. It's easier to find people, to converse with people, communicate with them. But the big problem is if you say something in 2014, for as far as other people are concerned, you said that in 2021. It's written there, and people don't really take into account the date. They don't see what you looked like when you said that, and see how different you look now, and how they don't comprehend how much time has passed, and really they don't comprehend how, like, ultimately, like, I don't know, this is why I believe in free speech, because, like, you should have a right as a human to, like, kind of try things and experiment and say things and express opinions that aren't fully thought out, and you can think about them later. Like, unless you're like the president or something, it's like, you should be able to say things that maybe you don't even 100% mean, or you haven't fully thought about, and not to say that it's bad to be careful with your words, but, like, it's definitely bad to be so careful with your words that you don't even say them in the first place. And yeah, it can be easy to, I think on the internet it's easier to get backed into a corner, and it actually makes people more extreme in their beliefs, because you say something and then it's like you can't take it back, you can't remove it, and then you're forced to basically double down. You have no choice but to defend it. You can't kind of say like, oh, it's not exactly what I meant. It's just very difficult to do when everything's written in kind of indelible ink. I think it's very bad for young people. I think, like, a lot of people, this is just a weird example, but like Peter Hitchens, for example, I'm not a huge fan of, I think he seems like an alright guy. I find his beliefs kind of bizarre. I don't really understand him. He has some weird perspectives on things that I can't figure him out at all. He's a bizarre guy, but I kind of like him in a way anyway. He seems like a nice enough guy. His brother was quite interesting. But Peter Hitchens, when he was younger, was like a communist, and now he's more or less the exact opposite. And there are some people who were like, they were like really violent when they were younger, or they were in like gangs, or they were like really homophobic, and like maybe even when they're older, maybe they're even gay, like, let alone not homophobic any longer. Maybe they're literally like, I guess what I'm saying is people change so much, especially, in the early years of adulthood, like people change a lot from that point on, and or can anyway change a lot, throughout those years. And it's a bad thing, I think, for people to be kind of glued to their words, because it doesn't happen in normal conversation unless somebody's recording you or taping you, and you say things, and someone might remember and say, oh, I remember years ago you said this or you said that. It's not the same. It's not the same as it being literally complete, as fully formed, as present as it was when you first said it. Like, it doesn't fade like a memory. It doesn't, it's still the same. It's still there, and the aspect of time becomes kind of meaningless. And in a way, a lot of the time, any kind of personal growth that you do or self-reflection becomes kind of meaningless as well in that context. So I think it's good to remember, that human beings learn by thinking and think by talking, and don't. As much as I'm saying that in society as a whole we give these things too much permanence, they don't actually have it. And so I think there's something empowering on an individual level about realizing that you can just walk away from those things. Like, just because somebody else thinks that you are saying that now because you said that 5 years ago, or you believe that now because you believed it 5 years ago, that's their problem, actually. It's not your problem. You don't have to feel that way. And it's a nice feeling after a while. You learn, like, oh yeah, actually, like for example, through like podcasting and things, it's like things I've said, and they like at times they would sort of embarrass me or make me uncomfortable, and then I sort of thought, well, they don't embarrass me or make me uncomfortable when I think of them outside the context of that. If I think like, oh yeah, 4 years ago I used to have this opinion, or 2 years ago I was at this point in my life and whatever, that doesn't bother me. I'm like, I know who I am now. It only bothers me when I look at it through the lens of other people's gaze, or my perception or imagination of what it will look like through their gaze. So it's I think it's good to remember that you can essentially just be like, okay, well, if you want to cling on to that thing, like, that's your problem, but I'm just, that's in my past. Leave it in your past the same way you would if it wasn't written down in, indelible ink, as it were. Like, I think we have to get to that point as a society. I think we have to actually shift our perspective in that way and begin to see things in that way. Otherwise, the problem's not going to get any better. It's probably going to get worse. And we need to adjust, because obviously the technology has changed things, and it's grown and changed. We need to, along with that. We can't bring a kind of old way of looking at things and try and like make it, sort of awkwardly fit in with the way things are now. We have to actually come up with a logical approach to dealing with the fact that the world is different now. So that was all really. Also, the paperback of my book is out now. I updated the pricing, and it's still updating. So if you look now, I don't know how soon this video will be up. If you look now, it might be $4.99. It will go down to $3.99 very shortly. I'm just waiting for those. I don't know why it takes so long to change the price. It's not exactly complicated, but anyway, I'm waiting for those changes to update. So if you want it at a lower price, and it is still for some reason $4.99 when you see it, then just wait a bit and it'll go down in price. But yeah, that's out now, and yeah, check it out. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, hope you get something useful out of it. Hope you're all having a good day.